Welcome to This Old Dog by Demarco. Released in 2017, this is such an endearing collection of songs. Every time I play this album, I find myself going, oh, I love this song as each new track begins. It's all very simple. Most songs feature only one or maybe two chord progressions. There are no odd time signatures or funky riffs. There's like one or two guitar solos on the entire thing. But what you will find is Demarco's regular use of a capo and those interesting chord voicings that give him such a recognisable and original sound. Many tracks on this album feature heavily modulated organ sounds, warbling in and out of tune with his barely tuned guitar, which itself is rarely at 440 Hz. Anyway, please thumb in a like, consider subscribing, and let's get underway. Track 1 is My Old Man. Great song. The guitar is tuned to A440 in this song, and we have a capo on the first fret, and there is a single chord progression throughout. So it's G, C major 7, and F flat 5, add 9 over an A bass. Oh, what? You don't normally play your F with a flat 5 and add 9 and over an A bass? Ah, well, that's easy. It's just exactly the same shape again. So for this whole song, Mac is playing that standard G chord, 1, 2, 3, and then he drops these two fingers down to make it a C major 7, and then he drops them down one more time but still strums 5 strings. So that I'm calling an F with a flat 5 and add 9 over an A bass. Alright, so let's loop up the layers. The whole thing starts with a little percussive loop. The rhythm figure here, every bar begins with the open bass strings, hammering on to those two bass notes of each chord. Then we do another down up on the bass strings. Then we clip the bottom strings. Down, down, up, up. And then to finish out each bar, we just go down, up on the bass strings again, but removing those fingers, which facilitates the change to the next chord. That's our full pattern, and it just repeats, but with these fingers moving down a pair of strings at a time. The only other thing I'll add is that Mac allows his thumb to come over the top. When he's not playing the G chord, it mutes the E string so that his C major 7, we're only hearing the 5 strings ringing, and same with the F flat 5 add 9 over A. So that's why it's over an A, because he's not muting the A string, he's allowing that one to ring. Yeah. All right. Next, we're going to add those wonderfully wonky organ chords that permeate this album. So the shapes that I've chosen to use here are a G major 7. You notice I'm speaking as if I don't have a capo on. I never know which way to go. Anyway, G major 7, a C major 7, then an F major 7, C major 9, then back to the G major 7, a different C major 7, F major 7, and a C add 9. That's obviously not note for note what the organ is playing, but I think it adds what the organ adds. Let's have a listen. Okay, track number 2, This Old Dog, the title track, another cracker. So this one is in A flat and it's played with a capo at 3, based around an F chord shape. Now this is the first of many tracks on this album that is not tuned at A440. I don't know if it was when he originally recorded it, but somehow between then and now, it's ended up a few cents sharp. So I'm not going to do that here and now. I'm not going to make you readjust for every song as we rip through the album now. But if you're playing along with the original, you think it doesn't sound quite right, that's why. You might have to tune your guitar, tune every string slightly sharp for this one. There's only two parts to the song, a verse pattern and a chorus pattern. There's no other layers or anything going on, although a second guitar does come in during the chorus, but it just doubles Mac's chord shapes, played on an electric guitar with volume swells. For the verse, F major 7, like that, to a G9, like that, a G6, and back to an F. And then our chorus pattern is a little cycle of fifths. We start on a D9 to back to our G6 shape, then a C9 back to our F. That's all. That's all the chords and all the shapes in this whole song. The strumming pattern is a little bit challenging. It's more of a picking pattern. It's based on this. We're doing 2 bass notes of the chord and then picking a couple of notes out of the chord on upbeats. That's our pattern for the whole thing, but it varies which strings you do it on. So the F major 7, then the G9, then the G6, same picking, then the F, same as the first picking pattern. Then the chorus, same sort of thing, D9, G6, the C9, and the F. You know, when we get familiar with the strumming pattern, all sorts of grace notes naturally appear around it. And I've included what I could hear from the start of this song in the transcription here. Let's give it a go. Let's have a listen to it. Track number 3, Baby You're Out. Now, this really is one of my absolute favourites to play. I'm probably just going to keep saying that. Again, it's slightly out of tune. This one, everything is a little bit flat. So if you want to play along to the original recording, you're going to have to tune every string, okay, I don't know, a little bit flat. Even though this one has the band on it, setting up quite a funky little groove, there's some percussion going on, there's that cool bass line, the organ copies the bass line, so you've got the organ playing along with the bass and adding an extra little chord over the top. But I reckon we can do a convincing job on a single guitar, and it's lots of fun. So let's have a crack at it. First of all, the chord progression is simply G, I reckon it's that, G, E minor, A minor 7, D7, and then I'm calling it a D11, just going back like that. Putting that together, that's the basis of this thing. Now there's one little lick that keeps happening in there, which I'm doing as a pull off from the 3rd fret on the G string to the open string, just before the progression starts again. Just slips in there. As I said before, there's the bass line, the funky little bass line, which goes. So most of those are the bass notes of the chords, the G, E minor, A minor, D, but then when we get to the penultimate chord, we've got to play at the same time. So I do that with my thumb over the top. So I'm barring the D, G and E strings there and reaching up with my 3rd finger to the B note on top, the 7th fret, thumb at the 5th, back to the 7th, G. It does that 3 times, and on the 4th time, the last repeat out of the verse cycle, the bass line changes. Instead of, it goes, or you can resolve back to the lower G. So again, the same sort of technique. So just kind of playing those notes while I've got that finger flattened on the D11 chord. Now there's one final touch that I think really makes this song recognisable instantly, and that is that the organ plays a G6 on beat 1, the very first beat. So the way I'm achieving that is by playing this shape, 3, 5, 4, 5, but I'm playing with my thumb over the top, and I'm kind of sliding into it. I think that just adds a little bit of flavour. So then I take those fingers off straight away so that I can do Mac Demarco's little guitar part as well. So there's a little bit going on there. Oh, there's another little thing that I'm doing there. To play this solo, I'm also adding that backbeat on the 2 and the 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So there's a little bit going on, but that is great fun to play. Then there's the chorus line, which is simply A minor 7 and D7, and then C, D7, back to the start. Nothing to cry about, 'cause baby, you're out. For the first time. Oh, another wonderful chord progression. I love the chords on this one. I don't think there's any guitar on this one, so just having a bit of fun with it, trying to emulate some of those sounds. This is what those keyboard chords sound like to me. F minor 7 played like that, and then E flat 6. So it moves between those two for the verse, and then the chord that takes us into the chorus is a C7. The bass guitar goes to a G note, and it sounds like that's the voicing. Well, something like that. That sort of C7 over E with the bass doing a G. Then we've got that lick. Back to the F minor 7, then basically the same chord over a B flat bass note, which gives us a B flat 7 sus4, like a B flat 11, G minor 7, and then there's a C7, but this time I can also hear the F note in it. It's like it's got an E and an F right next to each other. That's it. F minor 7, B flat 7 sus4, resolves to the E flat 6. Yeah, look, I don't think I need to say anything more about it. Just check it out. Beautiful. Next track, One Another. Another cracker. This one's at concert pitch, which is lovely, and capo back on the 3rd fret. Simple little pattern, but really fun to play. So it's based on standard D7 shape. The capo puts us in F, D7 to D, to G, to A7. And the pattern goes a little strum on the D7, take off that first finger, and then hammer it back on. Then you got to change to a D chord immediately. G, A7, and little hammer onto the A7 if you want to get it exactly like Mac Demarco plays it. After the A7, there's a little B and G strings open to go back into the pattern again. Right, that's the verse. The chorus is simple chords: E minor, A7, G major 7, C9, again E minor, A7, C9, one another, back to D. It also has some wonky chords, very out of tune sounding chords, which I'm playing F7. I'm far enough away from the capo that I don't want to call it a D7. F7, F6, then like a B flat sus2, C, resolves to an F7. Second time, F7, F6, B flat sus2, C, and it sounds to me like there's a 6 in there as well. So I'm going from a F major 7, hammering onto an F6. But I'm going to play that on the electric, and I'm going to try and wonk it out of tune with the whammy bar as I play it. The other quirky and cool part of this one is the electric guitar in the chorus. It's all on the bottom 3 strings, and it's the same chord shapes, but all we're doing is depressing the whammy bar to let the first note glide up, a little bit like a slide guitar sound. E minor, A7, G major 7, and the C9. And at the end, I'm going up to an F chord, or a D chord, whatever. So confusing with a capo on. But the coolest thing about this song is, it's got a guitar solo. Still Beating. Another brilliant song. I mean, I'm sick of saying it. This album, cover to cover, gold. This one's out of tune a little bit again. This one's slightly sharp. If you're playing along to the album, tune it up a little bit sharp on your tuner. If you're playing along with me right here, right now, we're in concert pitch, A440. So 4th fret capo, just 4 chords in this one, a D6. That's like a D7, just lose the first finger. Move those up for the next chord, A7. Move them up again for the next chord, E minor, final chord, G6. So just those 2 fingers, same open strings from the E minor. There is a G major 7 later on, so that's played in what I like to think of as the George Harrison voicing. You know, Here Comes the Sun with the 7th fret capo. Anyway, Mac Demarco's strumming, his approach to how he plays his chords, it's not just those interesting little voicings and changes, but I've really enjoyed getting to know how he attacks the strings. And this one is no exception. It's a little bit tricky to make it sound like he does. Where I think we should start is to play the bass notes of each chord, like the root and the fifth. So the D6, we're playing these notes on 1, 2. Then we change to the A, 1, 2. Then the E minor, 2. So we're just trying to hit kind of the bass notes of the chords on the downbeats of the song. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's step one. Step two is to put a flick of those higher notes in the chord, the thinner strings, on the E of beats 2 and 4. By the E, I mean that's how we count the graduations in between the beats. So if we're cutting a beat into 4 components, 1 E and A, 2 E and A. So we go 1, 2 E, 3, 4 E, 1, 2 E, 3, 4 E. That's step 2. You want to master that. Step 3 is that there's ghost notes in between those. So instead of just going 1, 2 E, we go 1 and 2 E. So it's very quiet in between, and that can prove to be a challenge. The other pieces of finesse with this one are that usually the D6 is quite clipped, and then the others ring. And the other thing is I've just put a hammer on when we go to the G. But you'll notice that if you listen really close, Mac plays around with that. Sometimes he does more than one, sometimes it's in a slightly different spot. I mean, he's strumming, he changes throughout the song. So yeah, this is just a guide. I've just written out the first 2 bars. This has got a lovely little, very simple ringing lead guitar line as well that permeates the song. So the tabs are there. Have a go at that too. All these songs are tabbed out over at soundslice.com on my channel. Okay, I'm going to finish episode 1, first installment, with Sister, which is a beautiful little, it's only like a 1 minute long tune, just a single solo guitar and Mac's voice. Capo 7th fret, so there's only really 3 chords in this thing. There's one other chord that occurs just at the ending, but 3 chords for the main pattern, which are a D6, an A over C sharp, a B minor 7, and then back to the A over C sharp. For the picking, I'm using thumb and fingers. Thumb for the bass is doing a rhythm like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then the rest of the chord is just on the 1, 2, 3, 4. So we get this. But you might notice that doesn't sound wonky enough. What I've been told by my sons who bought me this album is that Mac plays, I'm not sure if it's this track, but it certainly sounds like it, but he plays some tracks with his hand on his floating trem to make it, go out of tune. Manual pitch shifting throughout the song. So let's see what that sounds like. That's great fun. So, yeah, look, I'm just resting the heel of my hand on the trem there and giving that a bit of a shove. Nice touch. That one other chord I mentioned is that same shape that we start on, but down at the first or 8th fret, in the final run of chords down to the end of the song. So then the B minor 7, and then I believe he's just playing a D chord shape. It's an A with the capo on, 5 strings for that last chord. Thanks for watching. If you've come this far with me, please give me a like and a subscribe. Give me a comment. Tell me where I got things wrong. And look out next week for the rest of the album. I'm determined to finish it.